Qureshi a Muslim. Nabeel was raised as an
Assalamu alaikum and hello to my non-Muslim viewers. As you've just seen on my iPhone 6, today we're going to be discussing whether Nabeel Qureshi was a Muslim or not. Nabeel Qureshi admits that he was an Ahmadi Muslim, but he says that's fine. That means he was an Orthodox Muslim. Let's look at this claim logically and with authoritative Islamic sources. Now, there's a reason why Nabeel Qureshi is trying to market himself as a Muslim, or trying to pass himself off as a Muslim. He wants to do, like I said in the previous video, the Bart Ehrman approach. The Bart Ehrman approach is anybody who leaves a religion and then they're an expert on the religion. But the fact of the matter is, Bart Ehrman was honest. He's honest. He was actually a Christian, and he became an agnostic or an atheist. But that's not the case with Nabeel Qureshi, because Nabeel Qureshi was never an Orthodox Muslim to begin with. Ahmadi Muslims are not Orthodox Muslims, and I'll make this very brief. The reason why I'm saying that is because the Orthodox Islam believes that Jesus will literally come back. You see, that Jesus is alive in heaven, and then before the end times, before the end of the world, the day of judgment, Jesus will literally come back. Nobody can claim to be Jesus or the Messiah in Orthodox Islamic teachings. Yet, what does Ahmadi Islam teach? That Ghulam Ahmad was the incarnation of the Messiah, of the incarnation of Mahdi, of Jesus. So this is incorrect according to Islamic view. So anybody who directly contradicts what the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, clearly said, then they're not Muslim. They can't be, according to authoritative Islamic sources. The source of Jesus coming back in Islam is found in Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim. I don't have time to get to the sources, but you can look it up yourself on Hadith search engines. I'm not gonna pull it up now because I'm trying to make this video short. But anyways, Jesus literally comes back in Islamic thinking before the end times. Somebody in the 1800s. Can't be Jesus because first of all, Jesus is supposed to in the Islamic in the Hadith, Jesus is supposed to come back in Syria. Ghulam Ahmad was in India and was in Pakistan. He wasn't in Syria. So that's just one of the reasons why Ghulam Ahmad was why his claim is completely not Islamic according to Orthodox Islamic views. That's not the only problem. You see, not only is Ahmadi Islam interpretation of Islamic prophecies completely wrong in every way, but the second problem is, if you read Ghulam Ahmad's writing, if you read his writings, then he was claiming to be a prophet of God. This is, according to Islam, this is not Islam. This is, according to Islamic teachings, this is not Islam. In the Quran, chapter 33, verse 40, it says, Muhammad is the seal of all prophets. No prophet, nobody can come after the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, according to Islamic sources. So anybody claiming to be a prophet after the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, according to Islam, is not a prophet. They're a Dajjal. A Dajjal means a liar, an antichrist, a false prophet, according to Islam. What did Ghulam Ahmad claim to be? A prophet, or he claimed to be Jesus, and Jesus is a prophet. Thus, that automatically invalidates, the claim to Orthodox Islam. So, I've been watching some YouTube videos about Ahmadi Islam and stuff like that. And there was an Ahmadi being interviewed in an Islamic TV channel. You can YouTube it yourself. It's called Ahmadi Cult Exposed on Live Islamic TV. Just type it in on YouTube and find it yourself. I'm not going to play the clip because I'm trying to keep this short. But anyways, there's a Ahmadi member there was a ex-Ahmadi Muslim, like, given all the reasons why Ahmadi is not Islam, is not Orthodox Islam. That Ahmadi Muslim converted to Orthodox Islam, Sunni Islam, and he was just explaining why Ahmadi Islam was a heretical or a deviant or a sect of Islam that had nothing to do with mainstream Orthodox Islam. So if you're an Ahmadi, you're not following the real Islam. So Nabeel Qureshi is not a Orthodox Muslim. He was an Ahmadi. And Ahmadis, if you read Ghulam Ahmad's writings, if you read what Ahmadis really believe, and if you compare that with Islamic texts like the Hadith and the Quran, authentic Hadith and the Quran, then you'll see that there are major contradictions in Ahmadi literature and Orthodox Islamic literature. These two, they don't match. So that's that's more evidence, or that's more proof that Ahmadi Islam is not Islam, Orthodox Islam. Now, why would Nabeel Qureshi claim to be a Muslim? Well, like I said, he's trying to build himself in the community, in the Christian community. And how do you build yourself in the Christian community? If you're, Pakistani, Indian, or Arab, you pretend to be a apostate from Islam. So if you're an apostate from Islam, the Christian mindset, or the evangelical Christian mindset, is if we have an apostate from Islam, then that apostate can teach Islam better than Christian apologist that was already born into Christianity. So Nabeel Qureshi is going to have Nabeel Qureshi, labeling himself as an apostate from Islam is going to, in their minds, in their thinking, is going to have more credibility to talk about Islam than someone like Mike Licona, who was, always born into Christianity, was always a Christian and a Christian apologist to begin with. That's why they're trying to put Nabeel Qureshi as, they're trying to label him off as a Orthodox Muslim, when in reality he even claims, Nabeel Qureshi, in his book Seeking Allah, Finding Jesus, that he was an Ahmadi Muslim. So he's admitting it, that he's an Ahmadi Muslim. We can just go to Farhan Qureshi and just ask Farhan Qureshi, were you ever born into Orthodox Islam? He'll be like, no, I was born into Ahmadi Islam, and he'll admit that Ahmadi Islam is different than Orthodox Islam. They have different ideologies, and their Ahmadi Islam teachings are completely contradictory to Orthodox Islamic teachings. Now I understand why they need to market Nabeel Qureshi, or they need to try to sell his alleged apostasy from Orthodox Islam. I understand why they're trying to do it, but I think this is kind of deceptive, and I think this is flat out lying and dishonesty. He was never a Sunni Muslim to begin with. If he wants to build himself as a Christian apologist, that's fine. That's his thing, but he should just try to be a little bit more honest in his approach, and I think Muslims will appreciate it more if he's honest than trying to claim something he really isn't. But another thing I wanted to talk about is why Nabeel Qureshi converted to Christianity to begin with. He claims that he was having dreams and visions, and then he just couldn't ignore Christianity anymore, and boom chakalaka, he became Christian. In 2006, he was baptized. What's the real deal here? What's the real, story here? Why did he convert to Christianity? Someone came up with a interesting theory, and I'm not going to reveal their name, but and this theory actually makes sense why Nabeel Qureshi converted to Christianity from Ahmadi Islam. The reason why he converted was because there are two reasons why he converted. One, his parents were very strict on him, so he wanted to rebel against his parents. But the second reason is the reason that makes more sense to me. Nabeel Qureshi converted to Christianity because he was feeling the love of Christianity. He was feeling the he liked the attention the Christians were giving him. So that's why he converted. When he was a Muslim, he wasn't getting that much attention to begin with. He was just trying to please his parents, trying to be a Muslim and stuff like that. But he wasn't. He was kind of a loner in the sense that he didn't have much Muslim friends, or he was just bored with the religion. So he wasn't feeling Muslims weren't giving him enough attention. So what do you do when you want attention? You go to another group, and that group was Christianity. So David Wood was giving him attention, and the other Christians were giving him attention. So that's why he converted. Now, can I disprove his dreams and visions about him having dreams and visions of Jesus? Of course, there's no proof for this, but there's no way I can disprove it either. If he's having dreams and visions of Jesus, that's all fine and well. That doesn't make his claim true. That doesn't mean Christianity is true. Just because I'm having dreams and visions of Batman versus Superman doesn't mean Batman versus Superman is going to happen. It's just me having too much dreams because I'm watching it too much. Maybe Nabeel Qureshi was reading too much Christian literature and just daydreaming that stuff. I don't know, but the mind works in mysterious ways. But anyways, the point is Nabeel Qureshi should stop saying, he's a Muslim. He was never a Muslim. Ahmadi Islam is completely contradictory to Orthodox Islam. If you just read Ghulam Ahmad's writings, just don't take my word for it. Go to read Ahmadi literature, read what they really say. They say Ghulam Ahmad was having prophecies, and he was claiming revelation, and he was claiming prophecy, and all this stuff that's completely contradictory to Islam. So that's automatically disqualifies someone as a Muslim. So ask any Ahmadi, they'll be like, yeah, the teachings of Ghulam Ahmad are completely different from Orthodox Islamic teachings. Just don't take my word for it. Ask any Ahmadi Muslim out there, and they'll admit it. That Ahmadi Islam is completely contradictory to Orthodox Islam. Now, one might say, well, the Ahmadis do the 5 pillars. They say there's no God but Allah, and Muhammad, peace be upon him, is his final prophet. They pay to charity. They go to Hajj if they're financially and physically able to do so. They fast during the month of Ramadan. They give in charity, etc. So they pray the 5 daily prayers. So doesn't that make them Muslim? If they follow the 5 pillars and only the 5 pillars, then yes, that makes them Muslim. But you can't add extra stuff to the 5 pillars. You can't say somebody's coming. That you can't say that Ghulam Ahmad is Jesus, is the Messiah, when his claim to being the Messiah or a prophet or the Mahdi is completely contradictory to what the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, says about the Mahdi and Jesus and in end times stuff. So even though the Ahmadis do claim to follow the 5 pillars, they add a bunch of extra stuff to Orthodox Islam, which takes them out of the fold of Orthodox Islam, according to the Quran and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And if you contradict the Quran and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, then guess what? You're not a Muslim. It doesn't matter if you're following the 5 pillars or not. If you're adding extra stuff to the religion, then you're not following the religion. If I add extra stuff to Christianity, I'm not a Christian. If I add like another chapter to the Gospel of Luke, and if I go to a church and say, I'm a Christian, even though I'm adding stuff to the New Testament, I'm adding new figures in there. I'm adding, Apologist of Tiana in the Gospels in the New Testament, and I'm adding, Wonder Woman in the New Testament. They'll be like, get out of here! You're just inventing your own religion. Well, same thing with Ghulam Ahmad. He was just inventing stuff that's completely contradictory to Islam. So saying that Ahmadi Muslims are Muslims is like, is like saying, it's like me coming along, making up stories and putting it in the Bible and saying, okay, this makes me a Christian because I'm just adding some new stuff. I believe in the books of the New Testament, the four Gospels, the Epistles, whatever. But I'm just going to add some more stories in there. I like that. I like the story of Apologist Nabeel, so I'm going to put that in there. I like DC Comics material. I like comic book heroes, so I'm going to put that in the Bible because I got revelation that's that belongs in the Bible. Christians will be like, get out of here. You're just inventing stuff. You need professional help. Well, same thing with Gulam Ahmad. He was just making stuff up for political reasons. He's claiming he's the Mahdi and the Messiah and stuff like that. When that takes you out of the fold of Islam. So if Christians are going to reject my claim that we can just add stuff to the New Testament, stories like Apollonius of Tyana and like comic book stories to the New Testament, then we Muslims can reject the claim that Gulam Ahmad is, Ahmadi Islam is Orthodox Islam, because you can't add your own interpretation to Islam. Islam is 5 pillars. That's it. You can't. One of the teachings of Islam is, and Muhammad is the prophet of Allah, and the Quran says, "Follow the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him." So if you're contradicting whatever the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is saying about prophecies of the end times, about Jesus and prophecies about Jesus and the Mahdi and stuff like that, if you're contradicting the Hadith, the Bukhari Hadith, the Muslim Hadith, if you're contradicting that in the 1800s, hundreds of years later, then you are not a Muslim, you see, and people following you are not Muslims, despite the fact that they might follow the 5 pillars. So if you're adding extra stuff to Islam, that means you're not a Muslim. So that's a major point to be considered here. But Nabeel Qureshi, was not an Orthodox Muslim. It's just a ploy. It's just a mark. It's just he's just trying to lend some credibility to himself, when in reality he had no credibility to begin with. He's just trying to make a name for himself. He likes the attention of Christians. So what do you do when you like the attention of Christians? You just give them more of what they want, which is your fake conversion stories or whatever. And Nabeel Qureshi is not the only person who does this. I've met enough liars for Christ who make up stories, and they try to sell that story. I've met people like George Said who made up stories similar to that. People like Abdul Moray, he's also said some exaggerated stuff which I don't really buy, but I don't have any problems with George Said and Abdul Moray. I just think they over exaggerate, or they tend to be dishonest when it comes to discussing Christianity and Islam. But I don't have anything personal against them. They're fine. But if you really want to follow the New Testament and Christianity, you should stop making stuff up, especially when it comes to other religions like Islam. I don't think that's a fair way to go. Even like whatever your agenda is, even if you don't want to convert Muslims to Christianity, if you just want to keep Christians and you don't want them, converting to Islam, you should speak the truth about yourself. Making up stories is not the way to go. Because eventually people like me are going to find out that what you're saying isn't true. You see, you can't claim something you aren't. Just like James White claiming he has a real doctorate, even though he doesn't. People are going to find out about that. So my advice to any supporter of Nabeel Qureshi is, they should stop saying he's an Orthodox Muslim, because I'm not the only person who's saying this. A lot of other Muslims are saying this. But if Nabeel Qureshi wants to be honest in his, you know, with his conversion story and stuff like that, he should say he's an Ahmadi Muslim, which he does say, but he at the same time he should be honest enough to say that Ahmadi Islam is Ahmadi Islam. It has nothing to do with Orthodox Islam. It's completely different, and there's a lot of evidence to support that, like I just said. But anyways, that was my thoughts on was Nabeel Qureshi a Muslim? He is not a Muslim. You know, he was never a Muslim. But if people like Nabeel Qureshi are people we're dealing with, if we're dealing with these liars for Christ, then, you know, we should really reevaluate our time, because, you know, I've met enough of these liars for Christ, where I'm beginning to think that you know, there's you know, it's just not worth the time to keep refuting their nonsense. You know, are they really worth our time? No, they aren't. But, you know, if Christianity depends on liars, then, you know, that just shows how weak the religion really is. You know, say what you want about atheists, at least they don't, you know, at least most of the time, at least they don't, like, make up stuff. So, you know, so that's my thoughts on the whole, it was Nabeel Qureshi a Muslim. Hopefully this video helped. So thanks for watching. Assalamu alaikum. I'll have more videos in the next few days. I'll have more videos, and then next week I'm going to have Dr. Richard Carrier on my YouTube channel. So stay tuned for that. A lot of good stuff ahead. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.